Deep in the humid jungles of Vietnam, where moss-covered trees rise like ancient guardians and mist drifts low across the forest floor, soldiers whispered of a place that didn't exist on any map, a place no patrol entered twice, a place where sound died, footsteps vanished, and men walked in, but nothing ever walked out. Many believed the stories were exaggerations born from war, but in 1970, an American radio operator named Charlie "Red" Carver and his squad stumbled into that valley. What happened there would haunt the survivors for the rest of their lives and convince even the most skeptical soldier that some pieces of Vietnam were never meant for the living. Tonight, we retrace their final steps, the warnings, the illusions, the spirits, and the chilling truth behind one of Vietnam's darkest legends. The warning. Red Carver had spent months moving through tiny jungle villages, each one shadowed by the fear of war. In every stop, the elders shared stories meant to protect wandering soldiers from the unseen forces that lived alongside the living. They spoke of forest ghosts, river spirits, and shapeshifters lurking beyond the tree line. But one warning was repeated everywhere, always spoken softly, always with urgency. Do not enter the Bamboo Valley. That is where souls become lost. Red dismissed it as superstition. He believed in what he could carry: a radio, a rifle, and sheer endurance. Ghosts weren't real. Spirits didn't drag men away. War, he thought, only left behind bodies, not hauntings. But legends have a strange way of returning when the jungle grows quiet. And on a suffocating September night, Red and his squad chased an NVA unit deep into an uncharted sector. The air thickened, the vines grew denser, their boots sank into mud that felt unnaturally warm. Soon, even their map became useless. The jungle ahead wasn't drawn anywhere. What stopped them wasn't the darkness, but the silence. The threshold. The entrance to the valley was marked by a natural archway of towering bamboo stalks, bent inward, as if forming the ribs of some ancient creature. The moment the squad stepped beneath it, the jungle changed. The air cooled. The moon grew unnaturally large. Every breath felt heavy, like a wet cloth pressed against their lungs. As they advanced, the earth seemed to swallow their footsteps. Not a single sound followed them. No crunch of leaves, no squelch of mud. Even their gear felt muffled, as if sound itself was being consumed. Then came the breathing. It started as a low exhale in the distance, too deep to be human, then another from the left, then another from behind. Within seconds, the squad was surrounded by slow, rhythmic inhalations that didn't belong to any man or animal. The bamboo began to sway despite the still air, creaking softly in long, deliberate motions. The radio that shouldn't have spoken. Red raised his radio, desperate for a signal, for a voice, for anything tethered to reality. But instead of the usual static, the frequency pulsed like a heartbeat. The static sharpened, almost as if forming words. Then a voice broke through, a voice Red recognized instantly. "Turn back! Leave now!" His pulse steadied for a moment. Someone was reaching them. But then Red's blood ran cold. The voice belonged to his captain, a man standing right beside him, alive and silent. The captain looked at the radio with the same confusion Red felt tightening in his chest. Voices from radios had been distorted before, but this wasn't distortion. It was mimicry, perfect, chilling mimicry. The abandoned village Red's squad moved deeper, the bamboo thickening until it twisted above their heads, blotting out the moon entirely. After an eternity of walking, they reached a clearing, and there it stood, a village. Huts perfectly intact, cooking pots arranged neatly, fires still smoldering, like the inhabitants had only just stepped away. And yet no voices, no movement, no life remained. Red stepped forward cautiously, scanning for signs of an ambush. Then he heard it. A soft lullaby drifting through the clearing, delicate, calm, almost soothing. It was unmistakably the Hat Ru, an ancient Vietnamese lullaby sung to guide restless spirits toward peace. The melody grew clearer, floating atop the mist. Its harmony was beautiful, but wrong, too slow, too distant, too hollow. It belonged to no living throat. And as the fog parted, a figure emerged, pale, silent, gliding across the ground. A woman, dressed in a white aodai, her hair long and drifting like smoke behind her. Her eyes glowed faintly blue, filled with age and sorrow. She was the Ma Nu Rung, the forest spirit, a guardian, a mourner, a relic of tragedies trapped inside this haunted valley. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. Her presence alone was a message. The valley had not forgotten what war had taken. The legends that walked the clearing. The forest spirit did not move toward the soldiers. She simply stood in the drifting fog, her pale eyes flickering with memory, and as she appeared, the entire valley seemed to awaken around her. At first, the mist shimmered like heat rising from asphalt. Then, shapes began to form, faint outlines that sharpened into figures with every heartbeat. The men watched in horrified silence as the valley projected its ghosts into the living world. The first apparition was a young mother, standing knee-deep in mud, clutching her lifeless child. Rain poured relentlessly around her, soaking her hair and aodai as she cried silently into the storm. Water streamed from her eyes in endless rivers, each tear merging with the rain that soaked the earth. She was Mi Kuch Trong Mua, the weeping mother, a spirit said to wander rainstorms searching for the child she lost. Her sorrow was so powerful that legends claimed she brought the rain with her wherever she went. The bamboo around the clearing trembled, as if reacting to her presence. Then she faded, absorbed back into the valley's grief. Before the men could catch their breath, another figure lurched forward from the shadows, this one wearing a soldier's uniform, torn and stained by decades of rot. His boots dragged heavily through the mud, but his shoulders remained squared, marching in place as though following orders that no longer existed. The man had no head. He was Ngoi Kong Jiao, the headless soldier, a spirit cursed to wander endlessly because he had never received a proper burial. His footsteps echoed through the clearing long after his body dissolved into the mist. The valley's secret. The forest spirit glided closer, and the illusions shifted again. The abandoned village began to flicker like a dying candle. The huts, the fires, the children, all of it trembled and bent like a warped reflection on water. The truth dawned on Red with chilling clarity. The village was not real. It was a reconstruction, stitched together from trauma. The valley wasn't simply haunted, it was a wound, one carved so deeply by war, loss, and despair that it had become a place where the boundaries between life and death collapsed. Every spirit trapped here had died confused, afraid, or unfinished. The Bamboo Valley held their final moments, looping them endlessly in the dark, replaying memories like broken film strips. The forest spirit turned her sorrowful gaze toward Red and his squad. She wasn't threatening them, she was warning them. The valley fed on the suffering of those who entered. It grew stronger with every fear, every regret, every unresolved pain, and tonight it had found fresh sorrow to consume. The enemy becomes an ally. Suddenly, a burst of shouting erupted from the tree line. An NVA unit, rifles raised and eyes wild with panic, burst into the clearing. But when they saw the illusions walking among the bamboo, the mother, the soldier, the child, they froze mid-charge, weapons lowered, faces drained of color, breaths caught in their throats. For the first time in the entire war, American and Vietnamese soldiers stood side by side, united by something greater than conflict, fear, because in the Bamboo Valley, uniforms meant nothing, ranks meant nothing, even life and death meant nothing. The sacrifice. The valley demanded. The vortex formed in the center of the clearing, an invisible pull dragging at their boots, their rifles, their breath. Valley inhaling. It wanted sorrow. It wanted fear. It wanted them. The forest spirit stepped forward, her expression shifting from grief to pleading. She couldn't stop the valley, but she could guide it. Red stepped toward her, not out of courage, out of understanding. If the valley thrived on suffering, then maybe offering his own would release the others. He dropped his rifle. He remembered every friend lost, every mission gone wrong, every moment of guilt he'd buried under jokes and bravado. He let the valley see it. The forest spirit reached out and touched his forehead. A brilliant flash of white light exploded across the clearing. The illusions tore apart. The vortex collapsed. The bamboo groaned like wood waking from a nightmare. And silence fell. Not the dead silence of the valley, but the normal silence of the living jungle. The valley was satisfied. For now. What do you think happened inside the bamboo valley? Were these spirits born from war? Ancient guardians? Or something even older than legend? Let me know in the comments. And subscribe for more dark, mysterious stories from around the world.